How's the Josh? How's the Josh? How's the Josh?
Every few years, India discovers a new protest. The crowds grow, the slogans spread, the cameras arrive. The government gets nervous, the opposition gets excited. Social media declares history is being made. And then something strange happens. Most of them disappear. The question isn't whether the Cockroach Janata Party is growing. The question is whether it knows what happens next. And after watching this movement closely, reading everything I could find, I think the Cockroach Janata Party may already be approaching its biggest problem. Not repression, not police barricades, not the government cutting off their water supply at Jantar Mantar. Something harder to fight. Itself. Let's start with a confession. The Cockroach Janata Party has already succeeded where most of the opposition has catastrophically failed. It learned the language of the internet. Not ideology, language. Diapers, memes, sarcasm, costumes, absurdity, self-deprecation at a scale that mainstream politics genuinely cannot replicate. Congress holds press conferences. The cockroaches hold memes. In 2026, memes travel faster. The movement understood something most professional politicians still haven't. Young Indians don't consume politics anymore. They consume culture. And the Cockroach Janata Party disguised politics as culture. Wrapped a genuine grievance in a format that people would share without needing to declare a political position first. That was not accidental. That was intelligent. But attention and power are not the same thing. And that distinction is where this story actually begins. Now let me be clear about the grievances. They are real. Exam leaks are real. Student suicides, 16 confirmed, are real. Educational infrastructure that fails millions of young people every year is real. The pressure, the corruption, the rampant commercialization of competitive examinations that determines life outcomes, all real. But here is the uncomfortable historical fact. Many of these problems predate this government. Many predate BJP. Some predate liberalization itself. Indira Gandhi gave the slogan of Garibi Hatao in 1971, more than 50 years ago. The consensus in 2026 is that poverty is still very much here, which means the grievance is not the question. The question is, what exactly happens if the Cockroach Janata Party gets what it wants? Let's run the scenario. Tomorrow morning, Dharmendra Pradhan resigns as Education Minister. Then what? Does everyone go home? Do students return to preparation? Does the next exam cycle run clean? Does the NTA reform itself? Does the broken university system repair? Does employment expand? Nobody seems to know, including the movement itself, because the founder has essentially said so. Abhijit Dipke, who until recently was, by his own description, an introverted observer in Boston, told a reporter this week that the movement is entirely improvisational. One step at a time, no roadmap, no long-term structure, no organizational blueprint, no answer to what comes after the current objective. His words. I think it would be too early to comment on that. I respect the honesty, but honesty doesn't solve the structural problem. Because throughout history, the movements that changed things permanently were not the ones that knew what they were against. They were the ones that knew what they were for. Destroying legitimacy and building legitimacy are two completely different skills. The Cockroach Janata Party has demonstrated one of them.
And this is where we reach the first real fault line. Memes are excellent at attracting people. Institutions are excellent at retaining people. These are not the same skill. Think of the RSS. Agree with it, disagree with it, criticize it, support it. None of that changes one fact. The organization has survived for 100 years. Why? Because it is more than a symbol, more than a protest, more than a trending moment. Cadres, training, structure, relief work, discipline, accountability, institutional memory. Whether you like what it does with that infrastructure or not, the infrastructure exists. Now ask the same question about the Cockroach Janata Party. What is the institutional structure? Who are the cadres? What is the accountability mechanism? Right now, anyone can put on a cockroach costume and say they represent this movement. Anyone can take to the streets, claim the brand, do whatever they want under that banner. There is no membership, no code of conduct, no disciplinary mechanism, no accountability system. That is not a strength, that is an open door. And here is where things become dangerous. Not because the movement is growing, because it is growing without boundaries. It began around students, exam leaks, paper leaks, suicides, educational collapse, a specific, coherent, emotionally resonant grievance. But watch what enters next. Other slogans, other causes, other political battles, other ideological agendas that have nothing to do with why the cockroaches first showed up at Jantar Mantar. And in the speeches, in the rallies, at the edges of the tent, you already see it. Jai Bhim, Umar Khalid ko azadi do. Now, raising any of those issues in isolation is not the problem. The problem is raising them here. Because the moment those slogans enter this particular tent, the original issue disappears. You came to talk about education. You leave talking about everything. And a movement that is about everything is usually about nothing. That is not my accusation. That is history, repeated reliably. Let me say something directly to the cockroaches. Honestly, not as an attack, as a warning. The moment you block roads, you are in trouble. The moment ordinary lives get disrupted, not by choice, not by solidarity, but by inconvenience, people stop asking what you are saying. They start asking when you will stop. The moment property is damaged, the moment any violence enters, regardless of whether your own people caused it or others hijacking your banner caused it, the state knows exactly what to do next. And the average person who was sympathetic at day 4 will not be sympathetic at day 40. Shaheen Bagh ran for months. It had legitimate grievances. Many people supported it early. And then roads stayed blocked. And then sympathy quietly shifted. The farmers' protest lasted over a year. Alleged farmers left their fields and their crops for over a year, which itself raised questions about who exactly was sustaining it and how. The state machinery understands something every successful protest must understand before it is too late. Inconvenience is the fastest way to lose a sympathetic middle class. And you cannot afford to lose the sympathetic middle class. Now look at the historical pattern. Iran, 1979, the Arab Spring, Libya, Bangladesh, Nepal. Different countries, different causes, different decades, same pattern. Students fill the streets, they bleed, they sacrifice, they create momentum that governments cannot easily contain. And then something happens. The seasoned political operators arrive. They don't arrive in the streets, they arrive afterward, in the negotiations, in the transition meetings, in the structures that emerge from the chaos. The question for the Cockroach Janata Party isn't whether it can sustain momentum. The question is whether it can stop someone else from eventually capturing that momentum. Because successful movements always attract operators, and operators know how to wait. The Cockroach Janata Party has done something genuinely difficult. In a media environment where the opposition is invisible, where young people feel detached from every formal political vehicle, where the energy exists but no channel can hold it, they created a channel. That is not nothing. But right now they have solved the easiest problem in politics, attention. The harder problems begin now. Structure, accountability, discipline, leadership, longevity. A purpose that survives beyond the immediate demand. An answer to the question, what happens the morning after Dharmendra Pradhan resigns? The Anna Hazare movement had veterans, Kejriwal, Prashant Bhushan, Kumar Vishwas, Yogendra Yadav. People who had spent careers inside systems, who understood governance, who knew how to convert momentum into institution. Whether you like what they built or not, something survived Anna.
Will something survive the cockroaches? That is the only question that ultimately matters. Because history remembers thousands of protests. History remembers very few institutions. The cockroaches have managed to get India to notice them. The real question is whether India will still be watching once the memes stop being funny. You were watching Fault Lines. I'm Abhijit.